nimbos. If you want me, you gotta catch me first. You're as fast as a swamp bug on a hot skillet. Let's see if you're as nimble. Guess not.
Hello and welcome back to A Stark Contrast, where we discuss the differences and similarities from Marvel Comics to their MCU counterparts. And we are your hosts, Geoffrey
and Dai.
Hello, and welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Hello, and welcome to. We are recording on a rainy Thursday night.
Ooh.
Oh,
you don't even know what day it is.
Wow.
Well, on all fairness, we usually do it on Wednesdays. And this time we've had some schedule conflicts, but nothing to throw us off. We're still on track.
Always.
We're good.
Never missing.
Just, forewarning and my apologies for my voice because I'm fresh back from a lot of travel and a lot of work. Nice. And so, my sinuses are killing me.
And I am tired. As one is.
Like, I just want a long nap and I think I'd be solid. You know what I mean? Like a real
it's
nap.
crazy. Like, I work from home and I could easily. But I
never do.
What is the word? I have integrity.
Fair.
I care about my job.
I like
and
that.
my anxiety doesn't let me because I could easily not be in D&D, but then also I feel like if I try to take a nap, I feel like the Slack notification will just play in my head without even
exactly
going off.
Yeah.
Like that's how much.
Or you'd wake up and it's like 5:03.
Yeah, that's how much corporate America has a chokehold on me.
That's the truth, though. There are studies on this. Oh my gosh. So bear with us. But top chat and news. So I forgot to do this in the last episode. I wanted to mention that I helped revamp Declan Shalvey's website. And so Declan, if you know anything about comics or you don't, he is the fine sir that is behind the creation of Mr. Knight for Moon Knight and many other amazing stories and comic books. And so I helped him redesign his store, test the functionality, a bunch of nerd stuff.
Nice.
So if you wanna buy original art, he's got all his stuff from his what is I forgot title. It was from Deadpool.
Okay.
It's a Deadpool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he has a legendary arc in the Deadpool series where it's Deadpool, Colossus, and Wolverine, and it's all the original art from that stuff. Whatever's left, actually, because he sold a bunch of it already. But please go check it out, DeclanShalvey.com. Support the man. He's amazing. He's wonderful. And then I wanted to also mention, so I just went to Emerald City Comic Con. Fantastic.
Isn't that a Pokemon city?
Is it?
Emerald City?
I've never played Pokemon.
I think it is.
Is that crazy?
Not any
really,
of them.
though? No,
yeah.
Never. No, just go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Weird,
Emerald
huh?
City is a city.
Maybe that's why it's,
What came first, chicken or the egg?
First, yeah. So Emerald City Comic Con, wonderful time. I was there supporting Becky Cloonan, Tula Lotte, Zoe Thorgood, Casper Wingard. Tula. She's so funny. I love her. And it was a great time. I don't even know what else to say. It was a great show, multi-level, 2 different buildings kind of worked on me a bit. And so traveling to different streets, straight up different streets, is not something I enjoy doing. And it has potential to really mess you up. Like New York Comic Con is kind of the same, but a lot of it is still in the same building.
I got it.
But it doesn't have quite the same finesse that San Diego does, for instance. San Diego's a full-on city takeover, but you don't mind. But just going 3 blocks between 2 buildings feels like to me.
Fair.
I meant to say, and I didn't tell anybody, I told 2 or 3 people. I met Laura Bailey.
Oh.
Who is our Mary Jane Watson from the Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
As well as Abby from The Last of Us. And it was like a last second thing. A super duper fan, a Last of Us fan, came up to the table, and I knew she was a Last of Us fan because she was holding something that Tula Lotte had designed for the vinyl.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a good one. And so we got to chatting. She was from France. And she was going off about like, oh yeah, I met Ashley yesterday. I was like, what? They're here? And she was like, yeah, Ashley and Laura are both here. I was like, what? And I didn't know. And of course, Ashley was sold out, of course, everything. But Laura still had some photo ops, and I was like, it's not ideal, but I'll do it. And so, yeah, she's very lovely, very beautiful in real life, and pretty awesome. I don't think she skews. Her voice doesn't skew one way or another. Like when you talk to Ashley Johnson, you're like, that's Ellie. That's Ellie. But when you talk to Laura Bailey, like you don't hear Mary Jane or Abby. She's really good. Like it's not her natural voice, but very lovely lady. Kudos to her. And then last but not least, as far as Emerald City goes, I wanted to mention Kieran Gillen. So Kieran Gillen is, he is a mastermind of his own, incredible writer and creator in the comic book world. Mm-hmm. And he's well known for his creation for Wicked and Divine, as well as his awesome run for Uncanny X-Men, which I'm a fan of. And so he invited myself and a few others to this announcement party that they had after the con. And he and my friend Casper, who is another fantastic creator, colorist, and artist, they're launching a new book called The Power Fantasy with Image Comics in August. I believe it's Image. Ooh, sorry. But in August, it's essentially what Casper is tagging it as is that it's Kieran's Watchmen. So the level of like importance and just the skill set that he has put into this title is his Watchmen. So I'm like, okay, I got to see a few pages before everybody else. Don't tell anybody. It looks amazing. It's I'm really, really excited and yeah, it's go check out the press release for that. And then one more big thing before we get to all the Marvel stuff. So I wanted to mention that beloved comic artist Ramona Fradon passed away in February at the age of 97. And so although she was best known for her work on DC's Aquaman and even co-created Metamorpho, Ramona had a number of accomplishments, including being one of essentially 2 female artists working in mainstream superhero comics in the 50s and 60s. Wow. Along with Marie Severin. So Ramona, she didn't dabble much in Marvel. She did one filler issue for Fantastic Four. But I mean, an icon. Yeah. Like one of 2 women in the industry drawing at that caliber is kind of incredible. So rest in peace and power, Ramona. And then, so I don't know if you've played it yet, Jeff, but today, Spider-Man 2 New Game Plus is available.
Oh, it's today?
It's today, which is kind of weird. It's a Thursday.
Like the update.
What? I know, I haven't done it yet. I haven't played it, but I saw some clips and I saw the Spider-Man, the Insomniac account was posting some stuff. And
I need to.
Yeah.
I have not got any of that in my For You Twitter.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that this weekend, but
yeah.
Oh, it's available.
That's what I will do.
There you go. And then, speaking of releases, Moon Knight and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are available for pre-order on DVD. Next week. So we're talking March 12th. Yeah. And then they drop on April 30th. It's a fast turnaround. Oh wow. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm fully prepared. I'm definitely gonna get this is silly, but for obvious reasons, I'm gonna get Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I don't want to get Moon Knight, if only because then I'll be like, might as well get Loki and WandaVision, which is like dumb, but I'm like,
yeah, you just gotta grab up that physical media.
Right. Which is good because they were looking like they weren't gonna do it for a second, right? Mm-hmm. What is ownership? Digital is really just a long-term rental. So Pain. And then last but not least, X-Men 97 is officially making its debut March 20th. So go watch that.
I will be watching.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll finish the original, but I will be watching.
I believe in you, Jeff. Come on. I mean, again, if you watch the first 3 seasons, excellent. You don't have to do 4 and 5. You should do 4.
But like I'm such like 5? A person of like, well, I might as well.
That's the thing. Yeah, you might as well finish it at that point. But yeah, X-Men 97 debuting on March 20th. Cannot wait. There's a 2-episode premiere, and I think they're doing them weekly.
I think so.
Yeah, because they dropped that sick promotion yesterday.
Yes.
Or the other day. of the magazine cover with all the titles of the episodes.
So cool.
Very exciting. Sad it's so short, but I'm happy to get it than not get it at all.
Yeah.
That all said, just a reminder, we're not experts and we don't claim to be. We're just a couple of nerds nerding out. And in this episode, speaking of X-Men, we're gonna nerd out over the one and only Rogue. So, created by Chris Claremont and Michael Golden, Rogue's first appearance was Avengers Annual number 10, January 1981, titled By Friends, Betrayed. And so this one is actually, Rogue's first appearance has a bit of a backstory. She was actually slated to appear in Ms. Marvel number 25 in 1979, 2 years earlier. But Ms. Marvel was canceled at that time. So they kind of rewrote the structure, and Rogue ended up making her first appearance in this Avengers Annual that we're going to talk a little bit about. But in the aftermath, they ended up printing the original pages from the Ms. Marvel book that was scrapped. So they ended up in this title called Marvel Superheroes number 11 in 1992. So essentially it was 1979 artwork for the first half, and then a new artist finished the issue just to show the depth of her, what was intended to be her original origin story. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty neat. I'll show you some screenshots in a minute, but so the cover price, let me pull up this book. So it's an Avengers Annual, which means it's quite larger than the usual comic. But did you want to give a guesstimation of how much it cost?
And it said 1980.
1981.
Oh my god.
And so it says king size annual. Captain America totally defeated. Witness the invincible Iron Man knocked out of action.
Oh god.
Observe Spider-Woman's daring midnight rescue. Behold the deadly new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, plus a shocking mysterious guest. All that and a cameo appearance by the Uncanny X-Men.
God, I keep forgetting my decades and what I've guessed.
This one, I will say, it's a curveball.
Is it over $1?
No. I'll give you that much.
Okay.
Not $1.
I will go. I will go 87 cents.
Oof. Close. Too much. Just barely. 75 cents. 75 cents.
Gosh.
Could have got you this beautiful comic book.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
and so the highest I found on Shortbox was a CGC 9.8 for $1,500.
Dude.
And there's also a gold signature CGC signed by cover artist Al Milgrom for the same price. On eBay, same grade, 9.8 for $5,000.
Dude, who's sitting on these?
But also explain to me how Shortbox has one for $1,500 and then eBay has one for $5,000.
What are you guys doing?
It's so crazy.
Who's inflating these prices?
Yeah, it's wild. eBay is notorious, I'm telling you. And then the fair market value for this book is $500 to $700. So grading it clearly does a difference, a major difference. And so if you have one, get it graded. The lowest I found was a CGC 5.0 for $75 and a CGC 6.0 for $65. Not too bad. Again, it's one of those things that if you want to own the book, go for it. But if you want the good quality that's actually going to resell for you, you got to go higher in the quality. And then if you want the book raw, you just want to get it from a comic book convention or store, look in the range of $80 to $300, and that'll get you a good copy of it. Hopefully. But yeah, so first exposure to the character?
First trilogy of X-Men movies.
Really? I thought so. I was like, so. He didn't watch the cartoon and he didn't do any of that. So it was the movies.
So it has to be. Yeah.
Wow, you're a rare breed.
Really?
I think so. Personally speaking, I think people were at least knowledgeable of the cartoon in some capacity.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, now that I'm like trying to like think about like what I like grew up watching when it came to Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah,
I never watched any of the X-Men stuff or superhero stuff. the only superhero that I probably remember watching.
Yep.
Static Shock.
Okay. Weren't they going to make a movie out of that too?
I think so. I heard of yeah. So like I would watch Yu-Gi-Oh and I would watch
Yu-Gi-Oh
and the Animaniacs a lot.
Sure.
That's like off the top of my head, but mostly Yu-Gi-Oh. I was obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh.
I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah. So when it came to the X-Men, not really. So that's why I never got into what channel was
Fox. But by your time, I don't know how syndicated it was anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know if they were still playing it.
That's right. Were they?
Yeah.
When did it predominantly like play? Like in what era? Like what
92
years?
through 97.
92 to 97.
Yep.
Yeah, I barely even watched TV.
Yeah.
I was 3 years old when the last season probably.
So you
aired.
might have seen it, but maybe
they never like reran it. So so Yu-Gi-Oh I would wake up just to watch.
Yeah.
So
Yu-Gi-Oh I've never seen it, but it always drove me crazy that his voice was so deep.
Because he has two egos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
so what does his normal voice sound like?
It's high as hell.
Oh, really?
Like it's like a high pitch. Like he's like ha, like that. But then like when he comes that alter ego Yu-Gi-Oh,
He's
like Exodia, obliterate.
That's funny.
Loved it.
That's
Loved
amazing.
it. So yeah, I never. But
Wow.
then, and then when the Foxverse started, the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
that was me being introduced. I think I'm pretty sure I said this
almost 10 years later too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've said this on I forget which episode, but when it came to like those original movies, I was just like, "Whoa, look at these comic book movies like come to life."
Wild, that's so wild. So for me, I don't know. It'd probably be the cartoon.
I would assume so.
Right. I think I mentioned this in another episode. My first comic book that wasn't Ren and Stimpy or The Simpsons.
Ren and Stimpy, nice.
Yeah, was an X-Men comic book, and she was on the cover. And I can't remember I got the comic first because it had a girl in it, or the cartoon inspired me to buy the comic. Mm-hmm. So it's a little, but they're in the same range. They're definitely 91.
Yeah.
And 92, if you will. And so it's like, that's why 92 is so iconic in so many ways.
Got it.
Especially if you were a proper 90s kid and you grew up in the 90s, like that fell in line with like Pizza Hut, Simpsons, Neon, Puffy Paint. Like X-Men was right there, especially for somebody that's my age group, you know. And so I started buying the trading cards, like the one I have in my hand, from 1992, another milestone of the 90s. And so this is from the, I want to say, Marvel Impel set, which is a coveted set because Jim Lee, who is now over at DC Comics, he was legendary with Marvel at first. So he drew the entire set of cards, which almost no one does anymore, ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. And so this, as far as Rogue is concerned, not just invulnerable and super strong, Rogue can fly too, but her most unusual talent is her mutant ability to absorb the powers and memories of others with the merest touch. Though the transfer is usually only temporary, if Rogue's not careful, she could be stuck with a stranger in her head forever. A member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, while her foster mother, Mystique, led that group, Rogue is now a mainstay of the X-Men's Blue Team.
Damn. That's kind of a messed up power to have, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So she can't be touched.
Right.
Yikes. Same.
Yeah. I would definitely say it's like probably one of the most unfortunate ones because she can't control it, or at least historically has not been able to control it.
Yes, that's what I remember about the movies. Like,
yeah, what from that card was completely new to you?
I think it was the taking of power because I remember specifically the memories part in the movies. Like she was like what? Like she's hearing all these voices in her head.
Yep.
So but the powers, I was like, oh, that's scary. Because isn't that like almost like Mystique?
Mystique?
But she takes the form of people.
Yes.
Can she take their powers to like?
I don't think necessarily, because like what sticks out, which is a great example to me, is that, for instance, when she was Wolverine, and Wolverine like broke her claws. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So it's not the same necessarily. Like she has the claws, but they're not, like, she can maybe cut, but they're not as durable. They're not going to be as strong.
It's not the same.
No, it's not quite the same. So she's more of an emulator than an absorber, like Mystique is. She can emulate, but it's not like Rogue, where she can literally do exactly the same thing. So in her case, so for instance, Mystique can look like Wolverine, down to the claws, but in Rogue's case, she can absorb Wolverine's power and have the
adamantium claws.
No, not necessarily, but I think she has before. But she can heal immediately. She has the whole immortality sort of thing.
So, is it like a one at a time type of thing? If she were to absorb, like if she touches Wolverine, she has Wolverine. But if she touches someone else's, it switches over to that.
No, like she can multitask.
So then, what happens to the person that's touched?
Well, that's the thing. It depends on how long she's touched them. That's the biggest part of
So it's
Rogue.
like a depletion thing. It's like the longer she touches, like if she touches and gets off right away, they're at like 90% of their power.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if she were in a combative situation and say Gambit is on one side, Jubilee is on the other.
Yeah.
She can go boop boop, and then she'll like charge a card, and then she just
and then the other person will not have their powers.
They will. They still have it. They're just temporarily drained. Very temporarily.
Okay.
So, again, it depends on how long she's touched them. So she just does a quick tap.
So she's basically OP.
Kind of, yeah.
Like a lot of comic book characters that we've discovered. Like, why are they?
And you're going to hear the worst of why she's OP. Because it only gets crazier and worse for her in some ways. Because, like, you have to remember, even if you're familiar with the version in the cartoon, like Rogue's main power is just the absorption. The rest of it doesn't entail. So we'll get into that momentarily. But yeah, so in this Avengers issue, like it said on the cover, like Spider-Woman's daring midnight rescue. So it starts out like with a dreary gray morning at the San Francisco Bridge. And there's this dark narration quoting, "Tragically, over the years, many people have chosen to end their lives by jumping off the bridge." And then it continues, "Occasionally, though, someone gets pushed." And so there's a body. It's like trigger warning, I guess. But there's a panel of a body falling from the bridge. And then Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, one that wasn't in Madam Web.
Wow.
Swings in to save this Jane Doe who's flung over the side. And so Jess successfully saves the woman and gets her to the hospital. And hours later, the identity of the woman is discovered. She's none other than Carol Susan Jane Danvers, a.k.a. Ms. Marvel. And she was last seen 6 months prior to her disappearance. So it's determined, the doctors have determined through brain scans that her mind is non-existent. And they have no way of readily treating her because they don't know what's wrong with her. She's just comatose.
Yeah.
But her brain her brainwaves have disappeared. And so they can't even diagnose her. And so of course they have no idea what happened to Carol, but they only know that someone did this to her. And so as resourceful as Jessica Drew is as Spider-Woman, she's then like, I know somebody. I'm gonna call somebody, and it happens to be Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, home of the X-Men, whose roster in this issue is Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, and of course Professor X. So this is the point, I believe, where the staple people such as like Cyclops and Archangel and Jean Grey and Iceman and Beast have broken off, and they're an X Factor.
Wow.
So you don't even know. We haven't even gone into the whole segmentation.
X Factor, X-Men,
Excalibur,
ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends. Jeez.
Exactly. So they're not in this. The original Fab Five are not here. And so Professor X is then brought to Carol's bedside for telepathic reading, and then he identifies the attacker. So I have this panel for you, and it simply says, "It's a woman named Rogue."
Ooh.
That's it. And so here is the panel. And so this is Professor Xavier's fingertips touching Jessica Drew. And so it says, Carol was an exceptionally strong woman and courageous person. She fought hard for her mind. My preliminary scam of her of her subconscious picked up this residual image. I believe it is her assailant. Her name is Rogue. And so this is what Rogue used to look like.
Oh, wow.
Short hair.
Yeah.
With the white wisps, kind of
the white strips.
Yeah, almost Doctor Strange-like.
Yeah.
And she wore this dark green mixed robe of sorts. Very evil looking, very daunting, very maniacal in her own way.
Yeah.
And so at this very moment, you're going to flip, Jeff. Look who she's fighting.
Look who she's fighting. Oh, is that Captain America?
That's Captain America. And so, like, the good thing
crazy.
about my nasal issue right now is that maybe I can do a southern accent. So she's like, poor little chap, you never had a chance, darling. And so she's kicked Captain America's butt.
Wow.
And then, of course, what she does next is she absorbs his
super strength, super
soldier strength.
Oh my gosh.
And so...
Oh my gosh.
She's going for it. And so at that very moment that Professor X is like identifying her, she's kicking Captain America's butt thanks to her absorption of power from Ms. Marvel.
Yes.
So Ms. Marvel, as we can remember, she's essentially cosmic powered.
Yes.
And so she took down Cap easy. And so the Avengers are immediately brought into the fray, further because they're then infiltrated by a shape-shifting Mystique, posing as Janet Van Dyne.
Oh my god.
Yes, so they're triangulating their attack on all these superhero teams. And so Rogue is taking care of Cap. Mystique is back at the Avengers mansion pretending she's Janet Van Dyne. And then she then sabotages Iron Man so that he can't use his, like he's not in control of his own suit. So it's just bad beans all around for these guys.
My god.
Rogue goes on a straight up power spree, and she absorbs Thor's powers after Cap.
Oh my gosh.
And then, so she's Ms. Marvel, Captain America, and Thor all at once right now. All at once on her first appearance.
That's crazy.
And then she attempts to absorb Wonder Man. And so the thing with Wonder Man at this point in time is that he's not human. He's a living, sentient energy being.
Yeah.
It backfires on her. She's like, oh, I can't get the power. So she's like, distracted her long. She was so cocky. She was so confident that she was going to get him. She ends up getting pulverized.
Yeah.
But while in this whole entire, while all this is going on, Mystique and the Brotherhood. So the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is exactly that. It's a bunch of evil people in a group together, and they wanted a long name that nobody wanted to say. So they shortened it to the Brotherhood.
Love that.
Yeah, Iron Man, they have now kidnapped Iron Man, who is no longer in control of himself. And they essentially use it. They have this helicarrier or a helicopter of sorts.
Yeah.
They quite literally kick Iron Man out of the aircraft.
Oh my gosh.
And he comes shooting down, right?
Yeah.
But you have to remember, he's made of iron, metal.
Yeah.
So gravity takes force and physics take force. And by the time he hits the ground, they've positioned him over Riker's Island. And he breaks, makes the safety, the energy of the prison explode. And so they're freeing everybody in prison using Iron Man in his own suit because he's like, I can't move. My energy is under someone else's control. And so it releases all of the superpowered villains inside of the prison. And so now with the systems down, Destiny, the Blob, you know that guy.
Oh, the Blob?
Yeah, you know him, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
How do you know him?
The movies?
Is he in the movies? Was he in the movies?
Is he not?
I mean, don't confuse him with Juggernaut.
No, not Juggernaut. No,
he was,
Blob.
right?
I remember Wolverine was like in the boxing ring with him and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got a sharp memory.
Wag those eyebrows, brother. Wag them. So, Destiny, the Blob, Avalanche, and Pyro, these are all familiar names.
Pyro.
Are freed, and they take on both the Avengers and some of the X-Men. And then, spoiler alert, they lose. And then Rogue gets away with Destiny and Mystique, leaving the others behind. And so they're just like, bye. Wow. And they just leave them to battle amongst themselves. And so Rogue remained an antagonist for nearly 2 years after that issue. And so she was a bad guy. She was a bad guy from the get-go for 2 years, ultimately joining the X-Men in Uncanny X-Men 171. And so this is the one that I have for sure. She basically is like...
Her style switched up a little bit.
She's a little more like, oh, I'm so scared and naive. Help me.
It's like a full body suit.
Full body, yeah. And so she joins, and at first the X-Men are like, who do you think you are? And why should we take you in? You attacked us. And she's just like, I just really want help figuring out my powers.
Boom. Yeah. You're dead.
And so, of course, Professor Xavier takes her in because he's Professor Xavier.
Soft.
Yeah, he's super
soft, dude.
I mean, fair. He is soft. And so, yeah, they take her in, and she has been an X-Men ever since. The rest is history. And so ultimately the issue with her joining is not only because of her powers, but because of the absorption she had with Ms. Marvel. Carol was still in her brain. So that we'll get to more of that further down the line, but that's exactly that's essentially what had happened there. And so for pretty much 25 years, she was known only as Rogue. Mm-hmm. No name, no real name, nothing. Every time, I think it's even on this card, real name, unrevealed. Ugh. And so this woman went around being like, people are like, what's your name? Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Logan. My name's Rogue. Like she never said anything. And so it would be another 23 years before she finally reveals her name.
Jeez.
In her second solo title, penned by Robert Rhodey in 2004, which filled the gaps of her birth through teenhood story. And then she finally revealed it. She doesn't so much say it. It finally reveals that her name is Anna Marie. Uh-huh. And so this comes nearly 4 years after the first X-Men film.
Oh.
Which then brings it. Exactly. So this is one of those cases where it's like, did they...
So what was first?
The movie was first.
Yeah. But like, did the...
Right.
Yeah.
Did the movie influence them to be like, let's call her Anna Marie?
Yeah.
And then that brings us to Marie de Encanto, a.k.a. Rogue, in the Foxverse. What would we call Foxverse, I guess?
I'm saying Foxverse.
Portrayed by Anna Paquin.
Anna Paquin,
Anna
yes.
Marie. Anna Marie.
Anna Paquin, Anna Marie
de Canto. Yeah.
Maybe that they're like,
yeah,
you're hired.
Yeah, so portrayed by Anna Paquin in Earth 1005, the Foxverse. First seen in 2000's X-Men, last seen in
2000.
Right. It has been it's almost the 25th anniversary of that movie. Next year will be 25 years.
I need to rewatch that, low key.
Yeah, no, you got to watch them all like I did. Just watch them all.
Yeah, just to be like, just because like obviously I have a jogging memory of it being like as a kid watching it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like da.
It still holds
now
up.
I have to watch it like as I'm older, but then also as like a film like comic book movie fan of like what was this? Why like how does this story hold up today?
Yeah, it ain't bad. I gotta say, it ain't bad.
It ain't Dark Phoenix. I'm just
of all of them, that's the weakest link. Yeah. Which is so sad because it was the last one. You would think it would be different, but
I still haven't seen the most recent Fantastic Four yet.
You gotta do it, man.
I know.
You gotta do it. You have to do it. You might. What did you say at the beginning of the show? Might as well.
Cringe.
So yeah, she was first seen in 2000's X-Men, last seen in 2014's X-Men: Days of Future Past. So it was,
God, that movie's so good. I forget like all the heavy hitters were in it,
for
man.
Sure. Yeah, super duper. I would say underrated because so many people think First Class is the best. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
I mean, it's good.
It's good.
It's great because it kick-started like a new era of versions of those characters.
Right.
But then they're like, you know what would really put this over the edge?
Yeah.
If we have those same characters, right?
Yep.
And the old ones in the same movie helping each other.
Which is so wild because, again, people who we knew when No Way Home came out, everyone was losing their minds. And I was like, guys, we've seen this before. It was called X-Men. So 2014, that is celebrating its 10th anniversary, which is also crazy.
Wow, that's when the world changed.
Yep, you're right. And so Rogue in the films. Yeah, let's talk about Rogue in the films a bit. So in the initial, the first movie, Rogue actually replaced Jubilee in the storyline. And so that whole dynamic between she and Logan was supposed to be Jubilee and Logan, which is absolutely fair because that's very much a comic book thing.
Yeah.
So it was instead Rogue, which of course, we come to find is just the absorption power. So that's why it's interesting for you as somebody who's not used to what we have seen in other pop culture, in cartoons, in video games, in comic books, that you're only exposed to the very, very
bare minimum
original version of the character.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think is very it's interesting. And so what did you think about Rogue in the films that she was in?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my memory is foggy about it, but I do remember her being like so. But now I see like the cards and stuff. She's very like small and petite. Yeah. And a Paquin. Yeah. When it comes to like big moments, oh my gosh, I don't remember too much.
In all honesty, looking back on it, I feel like she wasn't in it as much as they might have intended her to be.
Like she wasn't, or at least wasn't like utilized in a way that would be like yeah. Like when it comes to like Jean Grey, yes. When it comes to Mystique, sure. Yes. When it comes to
talk about Jean Grey,
exactly. You know what I mean?
Wolverine.
Like, yeah. So even the other character. Oh my god. Formerly Ellen Page.
Oh yeah, Elliot. Yeah, Kitty
Pryde. Yes. Yeah. I even remember like her a little bit more than a Rogue.
Well, she did, especially in X2 through Days of Future Past. Kitty Pryde was more of everything.
Well, obviously in Days of Future Past for sure. Yeah, Kitty Pryde had a huge part. Like probably the most important character.
Yeah, exactly right. And so, well, that said, did you see the Rogue cut of that movie?
Days of Future Past?
Yeah, there's a Rogue cut.
What?
Do you not know about this?
I don't think I do.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's like spanned across, but I've just missed it.
So this is like, I would say, is the origin of like where the whole rhetoric of Snyderverse and Snyderverse cut. This is where it came from, because the entire marketing campaign for Days of Future Past revolved around like, Rogue, here's Rogue. Rogue is coming back. And then the movie came out and she was in it for like 20 seconds. And so everyone was like, what happened? Because you have to remember also, Anna Paquin herself is an Academy Award winner, right? So she was like the big name on this series. And so she had her own poster. She was one of the
I gotta rewatch all the promo material for that stuff.
You gotta see the Rogue cut because she's in it considerably more. And there is a part near the end of the film, because I don't remember, I can't remember between versions, but there is a moment where when Kitty is doing the thing with Logan and Professor X or whatever, like Kitty can't do it. She can't finish the job. And so Rogue comes in. They pull Rogue in from wherever she was, and she absorbs Kitty's power and takes over.
But it's not Rogue in the movie, is it?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's Anna Paquin.
God, I have to rewatch everything again.
Yeah, it's so that Bryan Singer released a Rogue's cut of the film just to accommodate all the scenes that they cut Rogue out of, because it was so much. It was so much.
Where is that version?
You can it was officially released and everything. Okay. So there's both.
It's on Disney?
I'm actually not sure. I don't think it is. I think you'd have to go to Amazon or something. Okay. Yeah, it exists though. You should watch it. It's great. But yeah, so it is interesting that you mentioned that, she kind of fell by the wayside The further it progressed, because after the first film, you're thinking, oh wow, they really set her up.
Yep.
She has absorbed a bit of Magneto's powers at the end of the first film. She gets the white stripe in her hair, and you're like, ooh, cool. This is where it gets going for her.
It's dicey, yeah.
And then the next movie, it's just her being a jealous girlfriend.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
They just kind of like, here's Kitty and Bobby.
Yes.
Bobby and Kitty are so cute. And then Rogue's just like staring out the window.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. And she didn't do as much as they easily could have made her do. Like, I don't even remember who she absorbs in X2 because there's so much going on. Like, there's Nightcrawlers, Lady Deathstrike, the Logan thing. So it's easy. Yeah, it's easy for a character of her level to just kind of get crushed underneath all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Like, aside one part where I think she pulled off her glove and she looked like she was going to absorb somebody. And Bobby's like, no, hold on. He pulls her back. I don't remember much of her in that film.
I can't wait now to rewatch all this.
No, for sure.
Just put it on in the background and be like, oh,
yeah,
this happened.
Exactly. And so yeah, they just kind of, I feel like they just downplayed her to make her part of the love triangle that they didn't quite have, or they were shadowing with the Logan, Jean, Scott Summers thing. And of course, I don't know, man. I just remember because during this time I was such a Rogue fan, like huge Rogue fan, and I was like, cool, this is the part where she starts to fly, and then she doesn't fly, and I was like, this is the part where she gets her super strength. Nope, none of it.
Nothing.
This is where Gambit. Nope, definitely didn't happen. And so I was like, oh, this it was kind of sad, She just really
never really saw the full potential of it.
Never. They just kind of also underused Anna Paquin as an actress. Because again, Academy Award winner, and she only got small parts of this entire franchise. Yeah. So definitely go watch the Rogue cut. Maybe do it back to back. I'm not sure.
I will see.
I'm sure you could find it on YouTube, like the Rogue cut different scenes or something. Yeah.
Probably.
Check it out. So are you ready for your pop quiz? I think this is the only one.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's been a minute, right?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, this one is right up your alley. All right, here we go. Of the whopping 13 films in the Foxverse. Oh. X-Men plus spin-offs. How many of them were directed by Bryan Singer?
Oh my God. My first was 5. That was my first gut reaction. Was 5.
Yeah?
I'm going to say 5.
You are so close. You are so close.
My gut says 5 for some reason.
It's 4.
Tits.
But you're right there. So the 4 that it is.
Because he did a trilogy. I know that. Did he do a trilogy?
No.
So I only did a couple out of them.
X-Men, X2, Days of Future Past. Did not do number 3. And Apocalypse.
So they stopped asking him to do the third one.
I think he was still like producing.
Sure.
But not directing.
My gut said 5.
So close.
Wow. I don't know why.
Additionally, fun fact, Lauren Shuler Donner has produced every single film.
That's crazy.
Film. 13 films.
That's crazy.
So it's interesting how that works out, right? Like, did he choose? Because he had a bit of a moment.
Oh, yeah.
He was canceled for some time.
Yeah.
He still is, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And so he bowed out of a couple, but served as a producer. So
Kevin Feige was on that first X-Men.
First Class.
No, the first
one.
Yeah.
Was he
was like he wasn't a producer.
No,
I think he was just like
he must have still been an intern.
Yeah, or something like that.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Wow. That is wow.
Yeah. So Lauren Donner She produced every film, but Bryan Singer only directed 4 of them, which is crazy. So, let's go into aesthetic. This is fun. You see 2 very different versions of this character.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So on the left, this is the traditional rogue that we know and love.
Yeah.
In her yellow and green bodysuit with a...
Yeah, the yellow and green is iconic.
Iconic. And then this short, I don't know what you call it. That's like a pilot jacket
like
almost.
Like a crop top jacket almost.
Yeah. There is a story of where she got it from. I cannot remember where and when it happened.
Yeah.
But there is a story behind it. And so that's her. Like they've changed her, they've augmented her suit very, very subtly over the years, but they never really stray too far from this. And so you have to remember that's from 1992.
Yeah.
1991. So she's had that outfit all this time, which is truly iconic. And then you see on the right what Anna Paquin looked like in the X-Men movies.
I mean, the hair looks great.
The hair looked great.
Yeah.
It was just the all black that was like, okay. And this is where the whole conversation about like, really? Like all black?
They were MCU-ifying everything before MCU was a thing.
Right. Without color, no less. Like double down on like, let's just make it all black.
You can't say like the MCU like neutral everything out.
Sure.
And it's like, well, because I get why they did that.
Yeah.
Because to see that green and yellow on screen,
it would
look goofy to people.
Yeah. No, and it's funny that you say that because the paragraph that I had written down here is that producer Ralph Winter has also been quoted saying that they had to quote unquote make a movie that reaches a wide audience to justify the budget. So that meant they had to stray from what comic book fans knew, and make it more widespread for the general public, which happens to be black leather because The Matrix came out just before X-Men.
Oh, it did.
So everyone was like, ooh, black leather. Black leather looks so good. Yeah.
That's just movie studios' way of thinking.
Yeah, and the turn of the century. Millennial movie? 2000s? Like straight up 2000. Y2K
movie.
It fits the mold, unfortunately. But yeah, it goes without saying that a vast majority of the costumes in the X-Men universe were pretty inaccurate for that exact reason. And they were all part of that timeline. So it wasn't until, maybe Days of Future Past, where they actually started to lean more into...
Yeah, it's so funny now. They're like, oh yeah, let's just fully just
do it. Especially like Logan. Logan is a great, not the movie, but Logan as a character, perfect example. Everyone's like, give us the yellow.
I mean, yeah.
Everybody wanted
Deadpool and Wolverine, dude. It's gonna like just do everything.
Exactly. Did you watch Wolverine? The Wolverine movie?
It's been a while.
You saw it though?
Yes.
When he's in Japan and all that stuff?
Yes.
So do you remember the stinger for that film?
Oh yeah, when he's on the plane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he opens the case.
Yeah, and I remember people being like, oh my God, we're finally getting it. And they never got it.
Well, that's why it was so traumatizing, right? You're like, this entire time they're just like blue balling you. They're like,
Yeah, because the fans
yellow.
they just want it once.
Yeah, and it was complete. That's the harshest part. It had the cowl, it had the gloves,
it's the cowl,
and it was brown and yellow.
Yeah, the cowl,
which is the first iteration of yellow.
And now you're getting 2 versions of Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hell yeah, I'm ready. So yeah, it's curious. Are we gonna see the rest of them? I think yes. At this point, yes.
I just wonder like how,
not in this movie, but
in
general.
Now I wonder how they're gonna roll out the rest of the X-Men, because obviously the Fantastic Four, the first family, like that's good. But now and then obviously, I mean, before I go on a tangent, I think this might be Hugh Jackman's last one.
Yeah,
I think this has to be the last one.
Yeah.
So then now it's like, okay, now, and also how many more do you have with Ian McClellan and
and Sir Pat,
Sir Pat, you know what I'm saying? Dude, and also, but then you have but then are those Days of Future Past guys, like, do they want to do it still?
Yeah.
You know, like McAvoy,
Fassbender. Need Fassbender back.
Like, is that like that same, even though they've already played them again, but are they going to be that generate this MCU version to like moving forward?
I just want the purple underwear on Magneto.
I don't think that's happening.
I don't think he did that. I do, but because he did, like we discussed this in our Magneto episode, actually, is that he was actually one of the few that had a pretty accurate costume at the tail end of his tenure, which is like, okay. So I think there's hope for somebody like Rogue, where it's like, maybe if and when she finally comes in again, she's going to be in the green and yellow with the little jacket. And I'll be like, oh my God.
Isn't it crazy? It's like almost 25 years since that first X-Men movie, 2000s.
Dude.
Now it's first of all, it's still the same Wolverine.
That is insane. That is quite literally the same Wolverine,
but now
half his life.
There's so many iterations of, like, obviously this is the MCU version.
Exactly.
The Disney version.
Yep.
So you're like, oh, like, I wonder how this version of X-Men is going to be this time around.
Yeah.
And how are they going to introduce it? Because now Feige just has like this playground, this ball pit of like, okay, this sandbox is a better example. Of like, like, ooh, okay, what can we do? Who's available?
Yeah.
You know, Sarah Finn going to work.
Well, did you see, because of all the not spoilers, but the leaks that are coming out of like Deadpool, for instance, like, I think it was Deadpool when they just said, a lot of people flew to London.
Someone said that.
Yeah, there's like a lot.
I think one of the actors or something, whatever.
Oh, the writer or somebody.
Like,
yeah.
Oh no, it was Depinder.
Was it Depinder?
Depinder,
okay. Yeah.
He was just like, look, like cameos in this movie you don't even know. Let's just say a lot of people flew to London for
That's
this.
So crazy! Like, I can't wait.
That's crazy.
So we'll see. We'll see if one day we'll see Rogue in her classic green and yellow. But yeah, and of course. I would be amiss to like not mention the joke that Cyclops dropped in the first movie. What were you expecting? Yellow spandex, which is like that. Yes, actually.
It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we want.
That's exactly what we want. Yes. Scott. I love Cyclops. Just saying. So powers and paraphernalia. So this is short and sweet and to the point, but we can talk a bit about it. So she has power. Obviously, life force and memory absorption. So she can do all three just by touching somebody. So this accounts for memories, powers, personality traits, physical traits, and strength. And then also mimicry, nigh invulnerability, flight, superhuman strength, and reflexes. And so the last bit, that is really in part of what she got from Carol.
Yeah. So
like we were discussing earlier, how would she get the claws, right? If she were to absorb Wolverine.
Sure.
There are moments where, like, she touches Nightcrawler, she turns blue. So it really depends on the sensitivity and also how strong of a mutation it is in that character. So when it comes to Wolverine, if we were talking like of the times, I think she could get the claws, but they would be the bone ones. They wouldn't be adamantium. They would be bone because that is part of his actual physiology. Yeah. And we haven't talked about Wolverine yet. I'm saving Wolverine until Deadpool 3 comes out.
We have to.
And it's going to be like 7 hours long.
We're gonna do Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
Like, as separate.
No. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like we're literally saving them until July.
Yep. Exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think I put up a poll or a thing on Instagram the other day, and I was like, which X-Men do you want to hear about? And I put like, do not put Wolverine or Gambit because we're holding them. Gambit specifically because it's just a selfish thing. But I digress. And so for Rogue, Marvel itself has stated that her inability to regulate her power was largely psychological in nature, which she eventually overcame with the help of Charles Xavier. So for a short time, she was able to take abilities from humans and mutants without harming them. Mm-hmm. So this is an evolution that has gone almost 45 years at this point. Yeah. So she was not able to control a smidgen of her power until, I want to ballpark it, maybe 10 years ago. Oh, wow. Maybe the most recent 5 to 8. Yeah. So she had all this time. She's had to wear the gloves. You can't touch. Don't touch me. You know, like
so and even if someone touches her,
yes, it's the same. Doesn't matter.
That's just
any skin. Like if she's on a subway and someone
If
brushes
she bumps into somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of the kind of stuff you happen that to see in the comics, in the cartoon. Like there's an incident or two where she like quite literally accidentally bumps into somebody and she absorbs the power. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to." Like it's a thing. It's a huge thing. Henceforth, the bodysuit and the gloves.
Yes, the gloves for sure.
And the jacket, because she's like literally covered up to her jaw. Does not want to touch anybody.
Damn.
Yeah.
She can't even have romantic interest.
But can she?
I guess we'll find out.
I thought about that for a while, and I was like, everybody, we can talk about this more when we get to Gambit. But for the longest time, everyone's like, "Oh, poor Rogue. Oh, poor Rogue can't kiss." Like, there's numerous issues of X-Men where she's just like lamenting, like, "I wish I could touch somebody." And then you're like thinking in modern ages, you're like, "Now they're good." Like, there are other ways, which Gambit himself has said is like, "Don't worry, shit. There's other ways to," like he does his own thing. But anyway, we can talk about that soon. But yeah, so in the films, it is quite literally and very simply power, life force, and memory absorption. So she doesn't have anything else in the films, which is, again, it's so sad because it's such a short version of the character.
Yeah.
And again, they shorted her on even using it. She didn't use it like Colossus touches her at one point, like during a danger room sequence. Like they're both in it, and he touches her forehead, and she turns into
like
metal.
Steel, whatever.
Yeah. And then, but they don't utilize it as much as they could. Like she could have easily been Storm and Cyclops, all of the Jean.
Wow.
Jean. But no, they don't do any of it.
Jean Grey is a psychopath. Let's move on.
It's always it's the redheads. Yeah, we haven't even gone down.
It's the redheads. Wow, you just angered all the redheads in the world.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're lovely. Yeah,
Mary Jane Watson sucks.
My man. Yeah, so yeah, we haven't even gone down Jean Grey road. Like that's another journey.
No, she's a psychopath.
And a half.
Legitimate psychopath.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
But yeah.
I'll never forget watching X-Men World, the X3, The Last Stand.
Yeah.
Oh
Phoenix.
my God.
Phoenix is
oh my God.
Scary. Scary stuff, man.
Jane!
No!
We move on.
So, family, friends, and affiliations. So, this is a pretty short list in all things considered. First up, her parents, Priscilla and Owen. No last name revealed. So again, like she's
just lazy writing.
Yeah, it kind of is if you think about it, because it's like, again, this character came out in 1981. You still don't have a last name for her. It's kind of like, come on, man. It's just Anna Marie. And then I was like, for a while, I was like, is Marie her last name? But it's not. Her name is Anna Marie. So her parents, aptly named Priscilla and Owen. I thought this was interesting because I was like, was the creative team that was writing around Rogue, were they Elvis fans at all? Because I was like, Priscilla and then Anna Marie. I was like, Lisa Marie? And it takes place in the South. And I don't know. But anyway, it's reaching.
Fair theory.
Yeah, fair theory. But no last name revealed. They were essentially a pair of Mississippi hippies. Like legitimately. Nice. Like they left home to go join a commune with their child. They came back and dropped the child off and were like, well, then bye. Yeah, and then they left again, and Priscilla just disappeared. Yeah. In the commune. I was like, okay. And so it was, and I wrote here in my notes, it was because their commune, let's just call it a cult. It was a cult. They attempted to utilize Native American mysticism to reach, quote unquote, Fairbanks, sorry. So, they basically joined a cult and sounds about right. Left their child with Priscilla's sister, I believe. And so, Rogue was raised by her aunt. We don't talk about her much here, but she was very strict. So she was raised in a strict household. And then once it became known that she was a mutant, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, like, nah.
And so Priscilla and Owen Diacanto are actually in the film. They're in the very, 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 very first one. portrayed by Donna Goodhand and John E. Nels. Was that that wasn't the very beginning of the movie, right? It was like 5 minutes in, maybe?
Probably.
Would you say?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the whole scene of Rogue, and she's in a room with the boy.
That I remember.
Yeah, and they show a quick flash of her mom and her dad both there. So they're there, but, you know, anyone who's seen the film knows all too well the cameo is literally 2 seconds long and just reactive to Rogue's kiss and scream. And then next up on the comic side is Irene Adler, a.k.a. Destiny. Have you heard of this character?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I imagine not. She's definitely grown more popular in modern age.
Oh, really?
She's a blind mutant with precognitive abilities that allow her to accurately predict the future events. So
she's Madam Web?
She's Madam Web.
Is that what you're telling me right now? As you were reading that out loud, I was like...
Yeah, I was like, ooh, actually, yeah. And that might be why Madam Web doesn't exist anymore. Because in came Destiny. So Destiny is interesting. If you look at her, she wears this like light blue, medium blue combo suit, and she wears a gold mask.
Okay.
And it's like, it has no emotion at all. And so for a long while, if you didn't know any better, you would swear that was her face.
Oh.
But it's actually, no, it's like a mask. And so canonically and officially, so originally she was old. Now she's younger. There's a whole, again, mutants, island, rebirth thing. Now she's younger, or skews younger. She's brown hair. She's beautiful. She and Mystique are married.
Oh my God.
In the comics. Yeah. So Rogue has 3 moms. She has her original mom. Yeah, she's original mom, Mystique, and now Destiny. And so Destiny, we mentioned up top that she was part of the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so she and Mystique have been thick as thieves from way back. Way back.
Love that.
And so whether or not they had always been in a relationship, I'm not sure personally. But they're officially married, or they're getting married very soon. So power to them. There's no live action counterpart to Destiny just yet. So hopefully we see her. She's actually quite an awesome character. Again, she predicts the future. It's kind of scary, but it's awesome. And then we have Kurt Wagner, a.k.a. Nightcrawler. You might not have expected this connection as far as Rogue goes, but due to their respective connections with Mystique, Rogue and Nightcrawler considered one another siblings in the comic books. And so Kurt is the actual child of Mystique. And then he has a half-brother named Graydon Creed. Does that ring any bells?
Creed?
Yes.
Victor Creed. Oh, no.
Yes. So Mystique has a son. So she had a son with, I believe, a German baron who produced Kurt Wagner, and then had another son with Sabretooth. And so Graydon Creed became a member of one of the mutant-hating For Humanity groups, which is really messed up because his parents are both mutants.
Ice.
Yes. So needless to say, Rogue and Nightcrawler bonded over their connection with Mystique. And so they essentially consider each other siblings, which is really nice. Yeah. So on the film side, we have Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, portrayed by Alan Cumming.
I didn't even know that.
Really? The first one?
No.
Really?
I mean, I know how the character looked, but I wouldn't.
You didn't know it was Alan Cumming?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, very talented man.
I know.
Incredibly talented man.
Love him in Spy Kids.
Yeah. And so, yes, he was also portrayed by Cody Smith McPhee in the newer films. Oh my God, I didn't
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I couldn't, I was like, because I was reading the doc and I was like, Alan Cumming. I was like, no. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, the Alan Cumming that I'm thinking about? Like, there's no way. And I'm like, oh, it was. And I saw the picture of like Nightcrawler from those movies and I'm like, oh yeah, I would have never guessed.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, he was fantastic. So yeah, Alan Cumming's version at least was first seen in 2003's X-Men 2, iconic entry. I think he really made that movie. Mm-hmm. And then Cody, came along for the newer wave of films. There's no tremendous crossover, especially when it comes to Alan Cumming's version and Anna Paquin. Mm-hmm. I think at one point they had like a line of dialogue shared, but they didn't indicate anything with Mystique, like nothing. None of that is going on in the film version. So Mystique, however, is actually quite a prominent person as far as Rogue's backstory goes. So Mystique in the comic books, Raven Darkholme, she was Rogue's caretaker since teenhood, and she pulled her into the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants along with its other members. And so, in addition to the name reveal in 2004 of Anna Marie, there are a number of conflicting stories and timelines when it comes to Rogue, and her initial connection to Mystique being one of them. And so there was a, I don't want to say rumor so much, but there was a theory that Mystique was actually Rogue's birth mother. And so under whatever circumstances, and also because she's Mystique, she's having all these children because she's shapeshifting through her life, obviously. So she's, God knows how old, because she's got a bit of immortality to her as well. Mm-hmm. And so early narration indicated that Rogue was with Mystique and Destiny before her powers manifested. So even if she wasn't her daughter, they'd had her since she was a tiny tot. Mm. And then this is a classic case of different writers who have had their hand in the origin pot, if you will. So one writer wrote, okay, she was a teenager when Mystique first met her. Another one is writing, no, Mystique found her when just after she kissed the boy. So depending on which version you read, I mean, I tend to go with the one that she met her just after the kiss. Uh-huh. And so it gives more to their connection. And it's one of the books that I indicated in our must reads. But iconic X-Men writer Chris Claremont, he actually openly stated that had he not left Marvel in 1991, he would have written it that Mystique was indeed Rogue's birth mother. That he would have written them together. Which in itself speaks a lot to how strong of a bond that they have. Yeah. Despite the alliances. So no matter what, no matter if Mystique is evil or not, Rogue is still very much like, she calls her mama. Yeah. She calls mama, and it's really nice. So Raven Darkholme Mystique, portrayed by Rebecca Romijn, first seen in 2000's X-Men, last seen in 2011's X-Men First Class in an uncredited cameo. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was when,
she was uncredited. Can you imagine that?
And they were on screen for pretty for that last a minute of the movie when Wolvie's back at the school.
Was she there? I don't think she was there.
Is that not her? Oh, I'm thinking Jean Grey. Yeah, those actors look the same. I'm thinking of Days of Future Past.
No.
Pain.
She had the cameo when Michael Fassbender's Magneto is talking to Jennifer Lawrence and she's in the bed. And then it's the meme. And then she turns into Rebecca Romijn. And he's like, so funny. Show me the real you. And then she changes it to her. And he goes, no, the real you. And then it's her as the blue Jennifer Lawrence.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So goes without saying, these two have a very different dynamic in the films. Rogue essentially falling prey to Mystique's manipulation and allegiance to Magneto and the Brotherhood in the first film. They otherwise don't have much of a connection at all, which is a huge loss. They played on it with Nightcrawler a little bit, but not at all with Rogue. So we lose a lot of meat to that backstory. But again, maybe they'll make it right. I don't know. I think we've seen enough of Mystique in the films. Maybe we don't need to see her.
She's always the most important person.
That's
or mutant.
That's my biggest beef about the new X-Men films.
Oh, she's
she did not need to be there.
She's the key.
Yeah, no. They didn't need to do that.
Well, that's why they killed her.
That's also right. She wanted to die, right?
They needed motivation.
Now, to notable adversaries, this is where it gets a little juicier.
Oh.
First and foremost, Carol Danvers.
Wow.
We've talked about Carol.
Never gonna happen.
We've talked about Rogue. Now we can really get down to it. So we kind of peppered it in that in our Carol episode that Rogue had stolen her powers or whatever.
Yeah.
But the brunt of this dynamic came after Rogue's initial and actual appearance where she was pitted against Carol because of Mystique. So Mystique has kind of led this narrative of like, Carol Danvers is an evil woman.
Yeah.
Like, we have to take her down. Like, she's bad. And so it really stems from the fact that Destiny prophesied that Carol would severely alter the course of Rogue's life, and Mystique would do anything to stop it. Because again, she's very maternal toward Rogue. And so it seemed like Destiny was foretelling this really bad thing would happen. But as fate would go, the fact that Mystique was trying to prevent it only ensured it happened. So the true dynamic between Rogue and Carol themselves lies in the fact that Rogue very much absorbed a considerable amount of Carol's psyche when Mystique sent her to go fight her. And so this is when I was telling you off mic, Jeff, that I wanted to send you with your own homework to watch episode 9 of season 2 of X-Men, because it's called A Rogue's Tale.
Yeah.
And it's the story. It's the story.
Yeah.
And the accuracy is off, but it is exactly what happened between them. And so you can imagine, like, it was the 80s at this point. So, it's a bit different, but Rogue and Carol got into it. She held on, but she held on a long time. And we're talking like full hands to face even, holding her face, seconds, like long time. Yeah. And so it wasn't until, and this is something that they actually covered in her subsequent appearance when that was scrapped from Ms. Marvel. And so she held on so long that Carol's voice started to echo in her own head.
Oh my gosh.
And she was essentially draining Carol's life force into her own body. And so that is the exact moment where Rogue actually throws her off the bridge. That she's then rescued by Jessica Drew. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was quite literally seconds apart. So Rogue would go on to retain Carol's memories until 1991. So 10 years in the comic book world. So it's about 5 years for the character. And she was finally free of them when she was temporarily stripped of her powers while on the Savage Land. And I'm chuckling because this is one of these iconic X-Men covers. I gotta freaking show you. Oh my God. And it comes up immediately when you just search for X-Men Rogue Magneto Savage Land. This freaking comic book comes up where she's like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Savage Land Rogue is a thing. And so she lost her powers at this point. And so it wasn't until that moment Carol finally left her brain. She finally was free. Rogue was free of the consciousness. So yeah, thanks to the Savage Land for that, I guess. I don't know. And some weird stuff went down with Magneto, so you can imagine. But on the film side of things, Carol Danvers, portrayed by Brie Larson, we covered her in episode 51. So if you want to hear more about
that's crazy
Carol and or Rogue, go check that out. But
I doubt it.
No live action crossover.
Doubt it.
At all.
Not anytime soon.
What?
A crossover.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I said that like the one entry before the Marvels came out, my theory was that the X-Men could have made their entry at the end of that film because Rogue could have come in and absorbed Carol's powers, and that takes Carol out, leads the way for whatever Avengers or Captain Marvel film that would come up after that. We didn't get her.
That's a dark route.
Yeah, but it would be perfect, to be honest. But instead, we got
the X-Men.
Yeah, it happened. It was Beast, and then Photon gets taken down. So I was like, oh, I wasn't that far. It was just two different other characters. In binary, yeah. So definitely no live action crossover yet. I don't know. I think there's a possibility they could do it. I think they could do it.
Probably way down the line.
You think way down the line?
I think so.
I feel like they would do it quicker, if only because they never got the opportunity with Anna Paquin.
Sure, but would it be? I don't know if it would be Anna Paquin. I feel like it would be a whole new set.
It's a whole new set, for sure.
Like the only two people I can see coming back is McAvoy and Fassbender.
Oh, yeah.
And like that's it. 100%. Like those are your two bases.
Yeah.
And then you build the rest of the other X-Men around.
I just think that there's an opportunity for them to have Rogue come in, maybe already powered up. And they could do the multiverse where it was a different Carol.
Like no more. We don't need the power introducing anymore.
Right.
Like in this era of comic books. Depending on what character you're trying to portray, I don't think you need the how
full
did I get my powers?
Right?
How did oh my gosh.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Hopefully. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But I will say that's the one way to get Captain Marvel out of the picture. Like if they need to cripple the Avengers somehow without a death, that's the way to do it.
Maybe in Captain Marvel's third final movie.
Yeah.
Like honestly. the way you kill it, because I'm still a proponent of killing.
I wish people could see your death button finger.
Of killing off characters. If they die either for a reason, and Carol dying because of Rogue is a reason, because that is Rogue's just intro story.
That would be wild, because she doesn't. And it's gonna be like, doesn't die in the comics.
God. Like and that killing of Captain Marvel will also influence other people's stories.
Yeah, exactly.
So
potential.
Kill them off. All of them.
And so another of Rogue's notable adversaries, at least if you ask me, Belladonna Baudru. This is Gambit's ex-wife.
Nice.
Yeah, speaking of exes, Gambit's ex-wife. And so, do I really got to say much more? No, but I'm going to. I'm absolutely going to. And so, long story short, at least till we cover Gambit himself, Rogue absorbed parts of Belladonna's memories while she was apparently dying or dead or something like that. And she was in a coma. And so, needless to say, when Belladonna returned to consciousness, she was not happy because Rogue very selfishly happened to take all the memories of Gambit. So she was like,
mad too.
Same. So she essentially took the memories of like, what would it be to kiss him, yes, all of those thoughts.
Yeah,
took them away from her. And so they've had some squabbles here and there.
Sure.
And so that's all we'll say for now. But Belladonna Baudru in the Foxverse, no live action counterpart. However, she was slated to be portrayed by Lea Seydoux in Channing Tatum's thankfully canceled, oh my God, Gambit film.
Wow.
So that she was supposed to have an emergence. But so sad. Maybe next time.
Maybe we'll never see Gambit.
I
just wanted to say that to see Dai's reaction. What if you got every other X-Men in like this new like Foxverse of MCU Disney? You see all the other X-Men, but there's never a Gambit. How would you feel?
I'd be okay with it.
Really?
Do you believe that?
No.
I would actually be okay with it. If only, because my level of perfection necessary is so ungodly high. My expectation, no one could do it. No one could do it. They can't, they've already failed in my eyes just trying. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't mean to do this, but we're going to do this. Taylor Kitsch.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Kitsch. I gave it to him. But he still didn't quite do it.
Couldn't do it.
Channing Tatum? Don't even talk to me about Channing Tatum. Not into it. No.
But what if he could?
No.
No?
No. I'm doing hand gestures for people who can't see because this is a podcast. But like, Channing Tatum is more of like a svelte, tall, bulky.
Sure.
Like he's got it, and it's nothing personal. It's quite literally because Gambit is supposed to be a lean, agile, kind of smarmy.
Sure.
Like he's not like Channing doesn't ring that to me. He rings like he could be Colossus if he wanted to be. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Gambit isn't quite like he's got a little grime to him.
Now my final question before we move on. What would you rather see first?
Okay.
Gambit live action.
Okay.
a Bucky Widow romance or still man.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's so hard. Oh, that's hard. Ooh.
Yeah.
And it's not even hard for the reason that you think it is.
I know these are all literal genuine things you want to see. The Stillman running joke has been going on for a while.
Yes.
But I know Dai really wants to see Stillman.
Okay. In 1, 2, 3 order.
Sure.
Number 3, Gambit live action.
Okay.
I'll let him go.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2.
This one I don't know what you're gonna say. I haven't. I feel like I know, but I feel like you could really like left field me right now.
Number 2, Stiltman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna have to say just because they could easily do it, and they just have. I'm like okay.
Yeah.
But big number 1.
Yeah.
Winter Widow.
Yeah.
And also,
you're lucky I didn't throw in my 4th one in there.
What was the 4th one?
Team Red.
Team Red. Yeah, forget it. Like Team Red would win. No. Team Red would have won number 1 for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah, all of it. No, which speaking of, the leaks for Thunderbolts already. Really? Mama's not happy. Mama's not happy.
I haven't even seen any leaks.
No, she's not happy. They did and it was that guy. This is a huge tangent, but maybe people will enjoy it. There's that one guy that has success rate of 75%. He's almost always right.
Yeah.
He did a full-on scale. Speaking of scales 1 to 7, full-on scale of the importance of each character in the script. Bucky is second to last. I was like, what are you talking about? What?
Which guy was it? Which?
Red Guardian was last. I was like, what? It was Yelena, Sentry, and Val were top 3. I was like, Val? Mama's not happy. So.
Well, I mean, again, that is only script. I mean, we'll see.
That better change. This better be one of those instances that he's 25% in the incorrect.
Sure.
It's that's a Bucky Barnes. Speaking of, sorry, Buck, but yeah, I would forfeit a Gambit because I'm
Fair.
This is the one that I need.
Fair.
Done right.
Fair.
And they did, given it's a 1 for 1 so far. He wasn't bad. He wasn't that bad, but he wasn't that great. You know what I mean? So, sorry, Channing.
That's funny.
Nothing personal. I don't see it. But needless to say, we still have much more to talk about. So, in the end, as with all heroes, Rogue goes toe to toe with tons of adversaries. Every enemy that the X-Men has ever had, Rogue has more or less probably gone against them in some fashion. Mm-hmm. So, some of the notables, at least in my eyes, include Mojo. We talked about Mojo very briefly.
Yes, we have.
Yes, big fat dude. He's awesome. Oh, God, I'd love to see him in live action. Mr. Sinister, who I also would love to see. So apparently Mr. Sinister was going to be the big baddie in the Gambit movie too. And many, many actors have said that if they were to play anybody, it would be him. Bryan Cranston, I think, was rumored to be Mr. Sinister. The Shadow King, who Aubrey Plaza played for a hot second in the Legion show. And then, of course, Magneto, who will segue us into her love interests because they got a lot going on, or at least did. So Eric Lensher, Magneto, we covered a bit of this in episode 61 of the podcast, but these two have a pretty complicated relationship that had cultivated over the years, a constant spoken, unspoken thing between them that had ultimately established a pretty harsh love triangle between Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit. So it's expected that a lot of the dynamic is due to the fact that they'd both been through a lot, not only individually, but also with each other, especially when Rogue had the whole Ms. Marvel thing going on. And, with the growth of her powers, their powers, Magneto and Rogue's, cancel each other out because of biophysics and such. So they were actually able to have physical
finagle.
Sure.
Finagle.
We'll go with
Finagle.
Copulate. So yeah, without an issue. And again, in Age of Apocalypse, they were even able to conceive a child that they named Charles. So
wow.
Yeah, they have a lot of backstory in the comics. Honestly, in all honesty, for a moment, I thought she was going to end up with him. I was like, wow, really? Gambit, like, I thought he was out of the picture. I was like, oh, he really messed up now. And I thought for sure, especially just her way of thinking as a character in the comics, where she is kind of gray in some areas, like especially with Mystique, for instance. Yeah. So pulling her over to Magneto's sort of mentality and the way he thinks. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I could see her, but she didn't. She didn't go fully, at least. And so over in the film side, Eric Lensher, Magneto, portrayed primarily by Sir Ian McKellen as well as Michael Fassbender. Yeah. I want to see him again so bad. Yeah. Again, we covered him in episode 61. So if you want to learn more about Magneto, check that out. And we mentioned this in our Magneto episode, but these two barely directly interacted in the Foxverse. Rogue ultimately playing a vessel for Magneto in the climax of the first film, giving her the white streak of hair. That's all they did. I think even in X2, 3, and 4, I mean, well, aside Days of Future Past, they're there, but they're not, like, there's no story happening. Yeah. So that's it with that. Another one that's slightly familiar to anybody who knows Rogue one way or another is Cody Robbins. And so this guy is the sweet little Southern boy who had a crush on Rogue as a child, who unfortunately fell into a coma after Rogue's powers manifested during their first kiss. So you got to remember, at the root of X-Men, when they hit puberty is where most of these people get their powers. Yeah. And so Rogue more or less hit puberty because she was in a romantic moment with this boy. Sure. And so her powers manifested during their first kiss. And he, in the comics at least, remained in a coma through his older years, and he ultimately passed away. And so I don't know what age. Yikes. Yeah, I would say maybe he ended up being 28. He was in a coma all that time. Oh my God. And so he was just essentially a vegetable. And so in this storyline, Belladonna took him like hostage, like using him as a pawn against Rogue. Like, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm gonna kill your boyfriend. And she like throws him out of a window, and Rogue is able to save him and all that. But he's in a coma. Yeah. The man can't handle it. So he slowly passes away at the end of the issue. It's so sad. Yeah. And so he is surprisingly present in the film side. So he is known as David instead, portrayed by Sean Roberts. And so although he's named Cody, it's said that David is the same character rumored to be renamed after the film's screenwriter, David Hayter. Mm-hmm. Hater. So David was like, I want to be Rogue's boyfriend, and put himself in the film. And so in the film, David was in a coma for 3 weeks after the first kiss. So he came out of it fine.
Dude, I can't imagine like you kiss a girl and you just immediately black out.
Yeah.
And then you wake up 3 weeks later. You're like, oh my God, what happened? Like, that was the most amazing kiss of my life. That I blacked out. Yeah. And I'm like,
5 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Next up is Bobby Drake, Iceman. Oh, so in the comics, not much to say.
Oh, wow.
They're great teammates. They're awesome. They cross over here and there. Yeah. But, spoiler alert, Bobby Drake is gay in the comic books.
What?
Yeah. He came out, I want to say he came out in the early aughts. Maybe the 10s. Yeah. Yeah. So he came out recently, if you will, considering the character's been around since 63. Like,
oh yeah.
62, 63. Yeah. And so there's nothing going on in the comics. But in the films, as we've talked about throughout this episode, Bobby Drake, Iceman, portrayed by Shawn Ashmore. Yeah, Bobby was introduced as an immediate confidant for Rogue, later becoming her boyfriend of sorts. And then that whole entanglement, again, with Kitty Pryde and their love triangle, consistent throughout the end of X3. This is the part that I forgot until I redid my homework. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. Rogue took the cure at the end of X3.
I do remember that.
Yeah, because she wanted to be with Bobby. And
God damn it, Bobby.
Well, that's what makes the Days of Future Past things so much more interesting. Because she's not supposed to have powers. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
so I have to watch it. Yeah.
Who cares?
Gotta watch it again. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so funny. A clip of him as Iceman has like been
I saw that.
making the waves.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Best use of powers in a comic book
I
movie.
can't believe we don't see like more superheroes using their powers for his everyday things anymore.
It's so cool. And
it is pretty cool.
I remember seeing it for the first time and being like, oh yeah.
I mean,
he just goes,
because that's like the positive side of having powers,
right?
Because most of the X-Men movies it's always portrayed like oh, they're different, like they are da 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 da. But it's like, but if you look at like the positive sides of it, it's just like,
yep,
it's like that for example, it's funny.
Like,
or if I was Storm and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to school, I'm just make it rain or snow, and I'm like, I guess you can't go.
Exactly. Which is funny because of the Bobby Drake clip, there's also one of Storm played by Alexandra Shipp that's circulating, and they're like, this is the best use, and then they're like, this is the worst use, and she puts ice cubes in a drink, and they were just like, what? Because that's not necessarily her power. Oh, she's not like,
she controls the weather.
She controls the weather.
It's not
she
like
doesn't
ice
make
cubes.
Ice cubes.
Like, Iceman can probably do it, but
exactly.
Not Storm.
Exactly. It was silly.
Yeah.
It was goofy. So before we go on to the next character, we got a listener comment.
Oh God.
From her real senpai.
Oh my God.
That guy Jeff is pretty hot.
All right, I'm in
it's like the fever face.
I'm ending the pod. Thanks, Brandon. He told me about this too.
Oh, did he?
He did.
That's funny.
He brought it up as an idea. He was like, "Hey, who runs the socials again?" I was like, "It's mostly Dai. Like everything that you see is pretty much a product of Dai." And he was, "Oh, okay, for sure. Just making sure because you guys did the poll and everything." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want in there. It's fine."
Yeah. Well, he did well.
Good Lord.
And so, speaking of hot dudes, next up on the list is Remy LeBeau.
Before we move on to that, sorry, no, it's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, dude!
Happy birthday,
happy birthday!
As we're recording this,
Hey.
Yeah, I'm recording this on March 7th. Happy birthday.
Amazing.
Yurt.
So speaking of hot dudes, that segues us into look, I just put you on the ladder right there next to Remy LeBeau. Take it. So Remy LeBeau, Gambit. Look. This is my first note. The man is a mess, but they are couple goals. In all honesty.
I mean, that's most celebrity relationships.
Yeah, like they're a straight up mess. But they have couple goals. And so, despite having arrived on the scene in 1990, Gambit's official flirtations with Rogue didn't occur until 1992, during the iconic and coveted Jim Lee era of X-Men, issue number 4, to be precise, which is also the first appearance of Omega Red. And so this, I think, is actually, maybe not the Omega Red part, but I think this is part of what's going to be an episode of the new series. I don't know if you've seen it. There's like clips of them, and they're all in like basketball gear and really like gaudy 90s sports gear. Mm-hmm. That is straight up stripped from this comic. And so Rogue and Gambit didn't. He was flirty by nature, but he was actively pursuing her 4 issues into that new series. And so Rogue tended to be on the safe side, given the nature of her powers and her history, especially with Cody. And so let's face it, Gambit wasn't exactly the portrait of monogamy. He would quite literally flirt with anything that walked. And so he constantly pushed the envelope when it came to Rogue, no matter what. Like she would even warn him, like she in the comics, especially during the 90s era, call it an attribute of the artists.
Yeah.
Who were predominantly male. Let's face it.
Yeah.
They dressed her very scanty clad. You know, she's like a true like mid what do you call it? Crop top.
Yeah.
Daisy Dukes.
Fair. Yeah.
Did not GAF as far as showing her skin was.
Yeah.
Because it was more like, yeah, come on, touch me. I dare you, you know. But Gambit would always like test her. He'd be like, oh, just one little kiss. Just one little kiss. She's like, no, I can't. So it's a lot of that, a lot of southern like courting going on between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but despite the utterly disastrous course of their relationship, Remy never failed to remind her that his intentions and love for her were unique and true, eventually winning her over and vice versa. And so the couple finally tied the knot in X-Men Gold number 30, published in 2018, a whopping 26 years after their first flirtation, and are likely in it for the rest of our natural existence. So that issue is particularly momentous because it was intended that Colossus and Kitty Pryde were going to get married. And so they have been a couple for, or at least off and on for, goodness gracious, as long as anyone can remember. Like so long, since maybe the 70s, 80s for sure.
Yeah.
And so they had been on and off again for various reasons, and Colossus even died a few times. But this buildup in this series of X-Men, they were like, big day, we're going to get married, big day. And the day finally comes and she gets cold feet. She decides to not do it. And so everyone's like, all right, well, we're all here. We're just going to have the party anyway. And then they essentially like talk to Rogue and Gambit, and Gambit's like, well, everything's paid for. And all our friends are here. What if we just get married? And they do it. They get married. And so not all is lost. And they're able to enjoy the day. And so, yeah, they're still together. He's definitely like, I feel like, and also because of the times, she's more of the pants wearer in the couple. Like, it's not so much of a, what's the word for it? I don't want to call it a womanizer because he used to be. Let's be real. He used to be. But he's not so much of he's more of a simp than ever. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the best way to say it. So she's in charge.
I'm with him on that.
Yeah. And so they have 3 cats. They like live in this house together. It's great. It's very homely. And so Remy LeBeau Gambit, portrayed by Taylor Kitsch, in 2009.
That's crazy.
X-Men Origins. Yeah. No crossover, obviously, because they were never in the same films together.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned above, was to be portrayed by Channing Tatum. Didn't happen. Could still happen in Deadpool. But I don't think it's going to happen anymore.
Never say never.
Shut your mouth. No, I don't want it.
He's gonna.
No.
He's gonna just show up. It's just gonna be Channing Tatum in costume. He's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna be him in costume, and then just Deadpool making fun of him, like
I know, right?
Like look at you. What could have been?
Yeah, he's gonna get something. I am excited to see what the inevitable cameo is gonna be, because he's gonna be in it. Like, I'm banking on it at this point. If they don't, that's just messed up. Like, even I feel bad about that. But
anything can happen.
Hopefully we get a Rogue and Gambit in the future. That's all I want. And a proper one where they're together. Or eventually become together. And so, last but not least, other versions and in other media. So, we could talk about every single bullet point on the section. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to, because there's only one that really, really matters here. Mm-hmm. Let me just preface this with, there was an iconic portrayal in X-Men Evolution, voiced by Megan Black, but the one that reigns supreme is the queen herself, Lenora Zan, who is, I think, the most iconic version of this character in existence. Like, nothing personal. I don't pack one, but truly, she's the version. She's the version on the card. She's the version in the cartoon. She's returning to be Rogue in the cartoon. And so she voiced her in the original series all the way up till 97, is returning for this new 1997.
Crazy.
And she voiced Rogue in the video games as well. So like if you ever played Children of the Atom or Marvel vs. Capcom or X-Men vs. Street Fighter and you used Rogue, I don't think Rogue's in one of those, but whatever. That's even that is Lenore Zan's voice. And she's very iconic, very raspy, very just an amazing voice all around. And she sounds quite like her, which is also adorable. She's not as Southern. She's Canadian, actually, but adore her. And so, yeah, she's fantastic. And that version of Rogue is very well representing of the comic books. Mm-hmm. So if you're only familiar with, say, the cartoon version, I mean, you pretty much got her down pat. If you were anything like me, when I was little, I think I mentioned this in an episode or two, I had two friends in particular that we would call each other at night or like, after school or whatever. And we would read comics to each other before bed. And X-Men was always one of them. And so we would choose from X-Men 92. And I would do a majority of the voices. But when I did Rogue, it was always Lenore Zan's version.
Of course.
Because it was just so good. But yeah, and so aside that, there's a plethora of memes that come with X-Men 97. And there was one that our friend Stephen Ray Morris actually mentioned to me today that I had to bookmark and show to you, Jeff, because it's so ridiculous. Oh wait, I did show you already. It's the one of the action figure of Rogue's.
Oh yes, yes.
So there is a physical action figure by Retro Gimmick that is Rogue's big booty from the X-Men series. And so this is, I'm sure you've seen this meme, Jeff. It's like Apocalypse is standing over her. Uh-huh. And she's just, it's an iconic portrait of a woman. And it's a backside view of Rogue. Uh-huh. But her peaches are just like, boom.
They're just defined.
It's just there. And so
Love
over
that.
time, it's become a
meme?
A meme. Yeah, a total meme. And so yeah, it's one of them. And then there's a couple more. The X-Men series, again, this is why it's so iconic.
Of course.
It's so iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to Almost Was. So this one was actually interesting because I had either forgotten or I did not know these, but there is a list for Rogue. So it starts with Rachel Lee Cook. Uh-huh. The girl, what is it? She's All That? Girl Next Door. No.
Is it?
She's All That?
Maybe.
I forget the name of that.
She's All That. Yes.
Yes. Rachel Lee Cook. Her. Josie and the Pussycats. Yeah.
Yes, I know that.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Sure.
Yeah. Rachel Lee Cook was in the running, as well as Katie Holmes.
Interesting.
And I know Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Wow.
Right. All the 90s queens.
Those are just.
Oh, yeah. 100%. The It Girls on the 90s. And so they were all involved in the original audition process. And Sarah Michelle Gellar was actually the lead. She was in the front runner for that trio. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer actually stopped her from doing it because of the scheduling. She couldn't get away.
Icon.
Yeah, pretty iconic.
And Katie Holmes is in Dawson's Creek, right?
She was in Dawson's Creek at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Like I know what she did last summer. What was the one that she did? She did
The Dark Knight.
Before that. Where's Rachel? Rachel. No, she did the other. There was another horror franchise that she was in. I know what she did last summer.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
No.
The one with the bus?
Maybe not. No, that's Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh, I love her.
But she was also in one. But yeah, Katie Holmes. Yeah, they pretty much were. So yeah, Katie Holmes was in the running as well. But Rachel Lee Cook has recently expressed regret that she passed on the project. And she was quoted pretty recently. This is probably during Five Nights at Freddy's. She was like, I knew I made the wrong decision after seeing the first movie posters because it was a big effing deal.
Yeah.
Everybody was on board with it, especially with Halle Berry.
Yeah, if Halle Berry is in,
Patrick Stewart too. I think we're really
like those four main people
it.
of like Halle Berry, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and maybe Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was kind of a newcomer, at least.
But he
stateside.
became the face of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He is the brand.
Yeah.
He's the brand. Yeah. So just the three. Other than that, but as we all know, Anna Paquin got the job. And so, future of the character in the MCU? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So we had a listener question from Superfanboy Guy. What are you most excited for about X-Men 97? I mean, Jeff, you have some excitement. Yeah?
I mean, I'm just, it's something new, and it's like, oh, this is, I love
like you're going to watch it, yeah?
Yeah. Like I love things that are a continuation of something previous.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh, it's this good to be brought back.
Yeah.
Like that people want to see more of this, and now you're
exactly.
you're doing it, you're elevating it. Like it's still Marvel Studios animation, just a little bit modernized, but it's still more or less the same from what I've seen. Like after watching a couple episodes of the original and then watching this one, I'm like, oh my god, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. It's
I'm super excited. Like I'm gonna watch it.
It's gonna be interesting, especially because what made 92 so charming was that it took place in 92. So it was like the jargon and all the elements, a mall, like you said this to me, like watching the first episode, like they're in a mall, like we don't really have malls anymore. So it's like, what are they gonna incorporate, like are they gonna really stay true and stick to 97, or are they gonna bring in some modern like,
and also like me
me
watching like that trailer and everything, because I don't know the series pretty much.
Sure.
It's just, but then so seeing like these iconic lines or hearing these lines from, I'm like, no, that's cool. But then people are like, oh my god, to hear Cyclops say to me my X-Men, and I was like, oh, that's a cool line, But I'm like,
it's from the comics.
And I read the comments, and I'm like, oh, this is like
it's huge.
This is like a humongous like line.
Big deal. It's a big deal, especially because I feel like, it's because obviously Cyclops is the leader, and it's such a pivotal line in so many really big storylines. Yeah, it's like the Avengers Assemble. It's the same level.
Okay.
And so when he's like, to me, my X-Men, it's like,
okay, yeah, I didn't know,
yes.
Because I'm hearing that line, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Same gravity.
But the way that it was like framed and like the way that it had,
when they all dropped in.
And I was like, this feels,
it feels big,
like an iconic seed.
Yes, it's the same thing, same gravity of Avengers Assemble, same thing. And so, and of course, the opposing leaders of respective teams. Yeah. So I don't know. So if they ever, it just opens the door for so much more because they're willing to pick up the adaptation. And so this is what makes me particularly excited, is that it's like, oh, so if they're doing this and they're doing Spider-Man, like what is it called?
Spider-Man. Oh.
The one where he's like in high school
the college years?
No, is it college? No, it's high school, right?
No, it's college.
Is it college?
Yeah,
oh, thank
adult.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, that one.
I think. I think.
So that, and then what if? Speaking of what if, but what if they were to advance X-Men from its 97 bubble and bring it to modern age, and then they did like an Avengers versus X-Men series, like something, what I mean?
That would be cool.
It'd be so cool. And so that's why I'm like super duper excited, because aside Beast, this is really the first true, they're not MCU obviously, but it's the first true, hey,
now you can do this.
Yes.
Like now you can do an X-Men versus Avengers type of thing.
We're in the sandbox now.
Yeah.
Like they're finally part of the family.
Just have them vibe out in San Francisco,
My God. Yeah, super duper excited. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm most excited for, is just to have them back. Again, I'm a little sad about the roster changing, but in Rogue's case, like I truly, if I had to pick one person to retain their role, absolutely be her. Yeah. Because she's so good. Yeah. I saw her in Columbus or New York last time, and she's just the sweetest lady, and I just adore her to bits. And so I just can't wait to hear how her voice has or hasn't even come close to changing as Rogue, and how what stories they're adapting and what's canon, quote unquote canon, and not as far as the comics are concerned. But yeah, super duper excited for all things X-Men and all the merchandise that's coming out. Shout out to Dan Van Seemeyer, who is the conceptual artist for all the new stuff. And so he's done the packaging, all the t-shirts you might see, the actual like the promo stuff that's out there right now. He did all of that. He's fantastic. Follow him and grab his stuff. So last but not least, suggested reading, Rogue Solo Series 1 and 2. I coveted these as a child. I love them to bits. And so the first, 1995, from Team Howard Mackey, Mike Waringo, Terry Austin, Dana Mooreshead, and Mike Thomas. And the second one, so that one, I think that's the one that covers the Belladonna story with Cody and all that good stuff. Gambit's in there as well. And then there's the second edition that came out in 2004 with Team Rob Rhodey, Dante Bastioni, Norm Rapmund, and Transparent Digital and colors. And that one is a more revealing take, and that shows that's the first reveal of her real name. And then, of course, X-Men Unlimited #4. So this is the one that shows the family ties between Mystique and Nightcrawler, as well as Rogue. Published in 1994 from Team Scott Lobdell, Richard Bennett, Steve Moncouse, and Gilness Oliver. Mr. and Mrs. X. This is a short series published in 2018 from Team Kelly Thompson, Oscar Bazaldua, and Frank de Armada. And so it's exactly what you might think it is. It's a Mr. and Mrs. Smith take on Gambit and Rogue. And during this time, they're introducing something that she wore just before their wedding. It's essentially a power dampener. So she wears this necklace that cancels out her powers. And so she has that throughout the series. And they have a bunch of amazing like team ups as far as using each other's powers go and battling people and actually go through it with one another. And then, last but not least, X-Men Series 2, a.k.a. the classic 90s title of the iconic team. This was the time when, of course, Jim Lee was at the helm with Scott Lobdell and Andy Kubert and a bunch of other notables. Again, everything that we see, 92, reflected in the series, reflecting the series itself. This is also the point in time where the team was split up into two halves. And so there was the gold team and then the blue team. And so Cyclops led the blue team and Storm led the gold team.
Wow.
And it was good times. It was very, very good times. And then, I guess with that is the end of the show.
Woo!
Oh my God. Thanks for listening, guys. Sorry about my nasal issues. But next episode. So we're still weighing our options as far as upcoming episodes go because we have a pretty clean slate. And again, we're like trying to frame and time people appropriately. So we are going to save Deadpool and Wolverine for July-ish. We'll probably, like once we get a date for Agatha, we'll do Agatha around there. But we do have a lot of options and open slots. So if you have anybody that you want to listen to, especially more than others, please let us know. I know we've been toying around with the idea of Kingpin or Sylvie, but I think Jeff and I agreed that our next episode is actually going to be one and only Hank McCoy. Beast! Because of his cameo in the Marvels and also because he has been in quite a few of the films. So that'll be great. But please send us your suggestions otherwise. And finally, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for supporting the show. And a special We Are Groot salute to Edgar, Andrea, Ashley, Ariel, Andrew, Tyler, Melanie, Joe, Liz, Robin, Ed, Laura, Eve, Jenny, Chris, Nats, Katie, and Sherry. Follow us on social at STRKCNTRST. And if you like what you hear, please review, rate, and subscribe.
Once again, thank you guys for tuning in and listening.
Yeehaw!
We will catch you in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So what kind of a name is Rogue?
I don't know. What kind of a name is Wolverine?
My name's Logan.
Marie.